welcome to the 757 Spy Flight over on YouTube. We are at New Orleans Airport. This is FedEx land, and this is the brand new Flight Sim Studios. I don't know, can I actually call it the brand new? Because this is a pretty old airplane. This is the 727 cargo liner. And wow, is this an old airplane, and it's an awful lot of fun to fly. Hello and welcome back to the channel. Welcome if you're new. My name is Dave. I do the Spy Flights over on Twitch, and every now and then like to come on over to YouTube and talk about some of the more complex airplanes, show you how it is that I'm pressing the buttons, how I'm doing my flight planning, and kind of making the airplanes go up in the air, come down, and not have pixels scattered all over the runway. Good to see you, and thank you for coming on in today. Today we're going to go, usually if you've seen these before, you see all those fancy departure graphics and stuff. I don't have this flight planned at all. See, this airplane is a VOR to VOR airplane. It's non-RNAV capable. That means we don't have all the groovy little waypoints and a nice little fancy flight management computer. So planning a flight like this is pretty much half of the flight sim. So I thought I'd show you how it is that I'm going to go ahead and do this. And let's come on over here and let's go on out to the airplane. So here is our airplane right here, and we're going to go ahead and just leave it here. Okay, pilots aren't even out at the airplane yet. We've got to go and do our flight planning, and so we're going to go ahead and launch Google. 20% chance of thunderstorms here today. Okay, well, that's good. That's this afternoon. So what are we going to do? We are at New Orleans. Let's go to Memphis. And this is one of my favorite flight planners here. This is SkyVector. Now, this is a real-world flight planner. So behind my goofy little camera here, you see where it says sign in. If you're a simulator pilot, polite suggestion, you don't want to sign in. You don't want to create an account here, because if you try and file a flight plan through this, you're filing a real flight plan. So SkyVector is an incredible tool. It's amazing that they make it available to us in the flight sim world. So let's go ahead, and we're at KMSY. And that is Louis Armstrong, New Orleans Airport, and we're going to KMEM, Memphis. This is a short flight. This is like 300 miles, but it's pretty good. Now, over here along the right side, you can see I've got a little tab here. It says World High. This is IFR high altitude charts. So what we're going to do is come on down here, and we're going to go and pick some VORs. Now, VORs are starting to become kind of scarce, but we still have a few and can make it work. So here we are. There is Nolans right about there. There we are at New Orleans here, and we're going to come up here, and we're going to go to the Macomb VOR first. So MCB and enter. Hey, look at that. It's now in there. Now we're going to continue up on the J35 airway, and we're going to go to the Sinden VOR. So that's SQS? Yep, SQS. Sinden. And you see how our little magenta line moved over? Now we're going to go over to the J35 airway, and we're going to go to MEM, Memphis. We've got 3 VORs there, and this is our flight. So now that we've got our flight mapped out here, and we know what we're going to do with this, I'm going to go over here, and we're going to hit the nav log button, okay? And we get a fancy little navigation log, gives us our track heading, our true heading. It gives us the distance between the VORs, and it gives us also the frequencies. So we need this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the down arrow here on my browser, and we're going to go and do the current plan and replace it. There we go. So now I've gone and saved a copy of this PDF to my desktop. Now we're going to come back over here, and I'm going to go and do our fabulous little Control-C. I just copied the 3 VORs into my clipboard, and now it's time to launch our favorite flight planner, SimBrief. And here we go with SimBrief, and we're going to go and create a new flight plan. And this is going to be a FedEx flight. I'm going to give it my usual number, KMSY, KMEM, and we're going to choose our airplane, which is going to be a Boeing 727-200. And it's going to spin around a little bit there, and then we're going to choose the FedEx version, go down a little bit further. Oh, it says kilograms. No, we're going to do this in pounds. This is an old Boeing. And let's keep going down. Now you can see here in the route, look at that. It's got waypoints. This isn't going to work for us. You got 2 things you can do. You could either copy and, paste in your 3 waypoints. If you don't want to use Sky Vector, go down a little lower to where it says Route Finder, show options, go and do a route type and hit VOR only and hit find route. And wow, that looks like it's pretty much the same, doesn't it? We're going to PCU and MEM. Now, one of the things that I don't like about this one is we basically have 3 kinds of VORs. Well, a lot more than that, but the basic 3 are low power, medium power, and high power. And I like to get my VORs about 100 miles apart. That way I might be able to pick up a low power VOR. So this one just got, I believe, the big higher power VORs. And so we're going to go ahead and paste in mine. I'm going to analyze the route. And you can see they're a little more evenly spaced now, so we can pick up our VORs along route. That's the reason why I do that, okay? Now then, let's go and get another tab. Oh yeah, we love to get our tabs open. And we're going to go to Digital ATIS. And we're in the United States for this flight, so let's look at MSY. That's going to be the New Orleans ATIS. And this is real world, by the way. You can go and get this. And I'm going to go and copy this ATIS. Boy, Control-C and Control-V are our bud. By the way, you see I'm building this little flight strip, this notepad up. Look in the description below. You can copy and paste this into your own notepad and use this. So, looks like winds nothing at nothing, and the altimeter's 3006. But what I really want to do is see what the real world's doing. Arrivals expect GPS runway 11, except inbound from the north runway 20. Departure runway is 20. So what I want to do now is I'm going to go 20 and a little dash. That tells me it's runway 20. All right, let's go and do our arrival. This is MEM, Memphis. Oh, wow, a little bit longer. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this over. By the way, I'm going to put links in to everything that the websites I'm using. It's in the description. Okay, visual approach is in use. Runway 36 left, 36 center, and 9. Okay, so I'm going to come over here. And visual approaches, that's departure. Visual approaches in use. So that's going to be 36 left, 36 left, 36 center, and runway 9. Okay, so now I've got my, that says 26, and I want 36. Typing is hard. I haven't had that much coffee yet. Okay, so this is looking pretty good. I'm going to go and we're done with this for a while. And now let's look up here just a bit and see what runways it gave me. It gave me runway 20 for arrivals and then 36 left. I think that they bring the FedExes in on the center runway. So I'm just going to go and have them grab the center runway. I do not want it to find a new route. And it did anyway. Boy, I like that. So let's come over here. Maybe I clicked the wrong thing. Let's go and get this again. Control-C. And let's go ahead and put this back in there, analyze the route, and now we got our runway set. And now our flight planning is done. This is usually what I do. Our block time's 1 hour and 30 minutes. So let's go ahead and generate this flight plan. And we're going to go and grab the big PDF file and grab this. And there we go. View the PDF. Oh, another tab. I'm going to go ahead and save this to something called Current Plan on my desktop. I like to have it on my desktop just because. Okay? So now that we're all done with that, we're done with the web browser for a few minutes. Let's go get our Navigraph charts. So here comes Navigraph. And this is all the stuff that I envision that the pilots do in the little pilot lounge before flight time. So now we're going to import our flight from SimBrief. MSY to Memphis right there. And there is our route. Let's go grab some charts here. MSY charts. And we're going to need a taxi chart and the airport. And there's our airport. We're departing on runway 20. Let's just look at the SIDS. No SIDS. So it's going to be runway heading, left turn to the VOR, and out we go. Probably. Or right turn out, I would guess. Okay, so now let's look and see what we got coming into Memphis. Charts. Now then, all of these are RNAV arrivals. Here's one. It says this is the dog arrival. We have the dog arrival and okay, this is coming up from the northwest. That's not good. How about the wilder arrival? The wilder arrival, that's northeast. Oh, here's one. It's the Marvel arrival. Hey, look at that. And look at what we got here. SQS. Hey, I think that's one of our VORs. So we could, and we should expect if we were on VATSIM, that they might give us this arrival coming into the airport. Okay? Now then, we're going to go to the approach, and we're expecting 36 center. They were also using 36 left. I'm going to snag that. And they're using runway 9. I'm going to snag that. Anything that they have in the ATIS, I'm going to put those down in my lower tab of charts here, just simply because ATC might give it to us. And that way I'm prepared. And there we go. We've got a departure airport chart. We've got the Marvel arrival, which they might give us. We've got the ILS that we think we're going to get and the one that we want. We got the other two runways that they're using. And we've got the airport chart. And everything's perfect. So now that we've got that, our stack of charts is good. The last thing I'm going to do is come on in here, and I'm going to zoom all the way in, and I'm going to center this, and this is what I use for my taxi chart. It's over here on the other monitor, so we'll slide that there. And with that, guess what? It's time to head out to the airplane. I don't use GSX right now. What would really be cool is I hope the developers will put maybe some stairs or something over here just for us. We don't need it. It's nice. It might be nice for them to do, but you're going to have to go and hop into the cockpit and look around and see, oh my gosh, we don't have an electronic flight bag. We don't have anything, but we got two things that are our bud here. And I'm still learning this airplane, so I'll show you how it works, and it's really nice. First, if you look down over here underneath the trim wheel, there is a clipboard. Let's click the clipboard. Oh, it disappeared. Guess where it is? It's over here. And so what we've got is I've got a cold and dark airplane. We're flying from the left seat. UTC. I've hidden my auto throttle switch. I got the SIVA, but we're not using that today. I don't have the brain power for SIVA today. I have cones and chocks in place. I'm going to go ahead and open the main door. I'm going to open the upper cargo door. Okay. See how it's not working? Sometimes the airplane has a problem loading. So Mustafa over on Twitch and here on YouTube told me, go ahead and hit restart. So I hit escape and restart. And then that way we should be able to open all the doors and everything should work. So we got to sit and look at the blank screen for a while. And it's going to sit there and flash. Hey, you know what? We could do a sip of coffee. Okay, and it's FlowPro is stabilizing the sim, although there's very little stable here. It's going to make some noise. Now let's come on down here and click this again and go and see. Can we open up the forward door? Hey, we can. How about the cargo door? Yay, look at that. See, it works. And now I'm going to go and request a ground power unit. So I'm going to just request it. I want the panel to be cold and dark, but we now have a ground power cart outside. And if you look outside our airplane, there goes the doors. And boy, the old door on this thing takes a while to go. Slowly creaking up and stuff like that, right? Okay, so this airplane, as you probably guessed, this is an old 727. It's got a flight engineer panel, and holy moly, has it been a long time since I have even used something like this. And the APU is back here. Oh, look at that, the door's open. We'll explore in just a bit. But what do? We need some help with this airplane. You know, we're flying glass cockpits. We need a little help. Guess what? It's here. If you look around the cockpit, oh, let's see, do our throttles work? Hey, look at that. Throttles work. Yippee. Let's check. The gear lever is down and the parking brakes are on. But if you look over on this side, uh-oh, what's this? Somebody left their they left their iPhone in here. Let's see. Maybe they've got cool pictures, right? That sounded creepy. Sorry. Hey, look at this. It's the crew manager. This is your bud. This is your friend. This is going to help you make this airplane work, okay? So we're all set and ready to go. Let's go over here and see what's next in here. Nothing else really to do here. I'm going to be imperial with my units, although I like metric a lot, but this is an old Boeing. Let's go to the pre-flight tab. Hey, look at this. Let's see. It says pre-flight up here, and it's got stars. That is my SimBrief user ID. I've already put it in, and I'm really grateful that they went and put stars in there. For those of us that live stream on Twitch and YouTube on YouTube, that was really nice. Thank you. Some of the other developers haven't gotten that message yet. Let's come on over here, and we're going to hit the cloud thing. Loading. Imported SimBrief rates for weights from the flight plan. So now all of a sudden, we've got fuel, and we've got cargo. And let's go ahead. It's going to take 10 minutes to load, or you can do an instant load. We got to set up the cockpit. So we're going to start loading the cargo right now. We've also got to go and put fuel on the plane, and that's going to take 6 minutes. And so you'll see the fuel will start loading. And is the cargo done? Okay, yep, cargo's loading too. And if you look really closely, you see the numbers are changing. So ZFW is going up, cargo's going up, fuel is going up. Perfect. We're going to compare those in a little bit. Let's come on down here and do a few other things. Let's see. The radios are looking good. If we were on VATSIM, we would be dialing into 122.8. Or we're in the United States, we're looking for, we would be talking on CTAF, right? So the one place to find that is over on the airport chart, and you can see where it says tower. Tower is, it usually, if it's a 24-hour airport, it won't have the word CTAF in here, but just use the tower frequency, 119.5. We're not on VATSIM, but we got a few seconds here. Let's go and do 119.5. 119.5 and have that ready. I like to tune in my radios as I really like to tune them in as quick as I possibly can. Okay, so we got that going on. Everything else is fairly decent. Our altimeter setting, we already checked that. It's 3006. So we can come over here and do 3006. There it is. So we'll dial that up, 5 and 6. You could also come down here and do your backup altimeter. So 3006 down here. And yes, it has millibars and hectopascals for you if you're going to be flying in Europe. You could also go and set up the first officer. This airplane doesn't whine at me about the first officers, so I'm not going to worry about that now. And all of this is kind of looking good. If you're looking down here and saying, hey, I got to set the transponder, where is it? Transponder in these old things is up here. So we're going to set, this is the spy flight, so it's going to be 0007. There we go. That's ready to go. And we haven't powered up the airplane yet. There are a number of different things that you can do. You can do all the real things here. I have forgotten. I haven't had a chance to learn yet. So we're going to use our crew manager and do the pre-flight checks. And once you click that, my suggestion is come on back here and just have a look. And you'll see all the things that are going. You'll see they're going to do fire checks. Up there goes the fire check going on. They're doing that right now. And they'll slowly bring your airplane to life. Now, there is a really good online manual for this. And I think the thing to do is fly this airplane using the iPhone here for a while. But as you can, dive into that manual to learn all the cool things that there is to learn. If you look down here, you hear the little jet engine. That's the APU that's starting up. And there's the APU right there. So we've got that going. Here's the exhaust temperature on the APU, and that's going up. And so now we're running the APU here. And if you come out here, you can hear the airplane starting to make some more noise. And the APU's back here, like most APUs. I forget. Is it maybe... maybe it isn't in the back. I've got to remind myself where the APU is on this thing. Anyway, APU is up and running. I think it's in the back like most airplanes. Could be it's one of those. I think a few of the airplanes had the APU, in the middle of the airplane. Not sure. But the airplane is slowly starting itself up. And it's all going pretty good here. Another thing to do while we're waiting is let's go ahead and move our control column a little bit. Make sure that you can... move everything. We already checked the throttles. Hey, look at that. The rudder pedals work. Sometimes your USBs get a little messed up and stuff. And let's see, if we look here, you can see it's still spinning around. So the flight engineer is still setting up your airplane for you, which is really pretty cool. While we're doing this, let's go ahead and get our radios set up. And we're talking about the nav radios here. And we're going to need these two nav radios. And remember the PDF file that I got called the nav log? Well, here's Mr. Navlog right here. Mr. Navlog. What's in the coffee? There's our first three VORs. Let's dial them in. So our first is the LNY 117.7. 117.7. It just did the autopilot disconnect test, which is hilarious sounding. 117.7. Okay. Our next radio station is going to be 1123. So let's go ahead and get that dialed in as quick as we can. 112.3. Okay. Now over here on the NAV2 system, I'm going to put in 112.3 right now, and I'm going to make it active. And then our third VOR is ITO. Oh, wait a minute. That's not right. Those are not right. That's my old one. What happened to my Navlog? I saved it. I did it right in front of you. Well, fortunately, it's here. Let's go ahead. Yeah, these are completely different. I'm using the wrong one. What did I do? Okay, today is 8/11. What did I save this over? Do I have one that's 8/11 is current plan? Okay. Did I close it out? I did. Let's try and save it on Navlog again. Navlog, do you want to replace it? Yes. Current plan, I guess I didn't do the Navlog. Okay. Clearly more coffee may be needed. That's going to be my excuse for the whole flight, by the way. All right, this is better. Okay. MCB, SQS in Memphis. All right, so let's go and redo it again. 116.7. 116.7. 114.7 is our next one. 114.7. There we go. Let's do 114.7 here. And I'll show you why I'm setting this up over on NAV2 in just a second. And then Memphis is 117.5. 117.5. Okay, we got all of that done. So look over here on the panel. We've got our main navigation display here. And you can see it's got miles to go and a course. And you see over here, there's another big mileage indicator right there. Well, that's DME2. That is this radio. So our first radio is going to pick up the one we're navigating with, 116.7. But when we get in range of the second one here, all of a sudden, we're going to see numbers in this. So when we see numbers in this, we know, hey, we're picking up our next radio station. Let's go set it up. Next thing we're going to do is let's get our runway heading. So right down the runway, and we are departing here at MSY, and it's runway 20, 196 degrees. So we got to set 196 here. So let's do our heading down here. And of course, it's all the way at the other end. It always is. So there is 180, 19, there's 195, and 196. Now then, as we depart the airport, we're going to go up to the MCB VOR, and that is going to be 001 degrees north. So 001 degrees north, and now that's all set. That way, as soon as we get in the air, we'll pick it up, and look at this. The pre-flight is done. So that looks really good. Autopilot disengage, we're going to turn that off. How's the loading process going? Well, the fuel's aboard, and if we look over here, we can see we got a minute left to go. We have a left, a center, and a right tank. There should be 7,964 pounds in this thing, and the real fuel gauges are over here. And if you look in, you can see, yeah, that looks like about right. So it looks like about 5, 6, 7, almost 8,000 pounds. So then you could go and take a look at your flight plan itself, the one we generated from SimBrief, and we needed 23,891 pounds. So the thing you could do is use the calculator because it's too early for math. So let's go 23,891 divided by 3 equals 7,963 pounds. Sound familiar? It's almost 8,000 pounds. The reason to do that is to just check and make sure that the fuel got boarded correctly, and it did. Okay? So all of this is starting to come together. Let's look over here. 30 seconds until the cockpit, the airplane's loaded. And then the last thing that we'll verify is our zero fuel weight. And our zero fuel weight for today's flight is supposed to be 139,946 pounds. We are at 131,000 pounds. 139, we've got 9 seconds to go. It looks like we're not quite as heavy. It didn't board exactly what SimBrief gave me, but I'll take, okay, 132,059. I'll take that. That's fine. Let's have fun flying the airplane, right? Okay, so with all of this loaded, now we're going to come back over here and catch the airport tab. And at this point, all we need to do is come over here and we're going to close the upper cargo door, the big cargo door, and that's going to close up. We're getting ready to go. Now let's see. We're on the APU. We still have ground power plugged in, but I don't want to remove my ground power until I'm sure. And you find out about that up here. And we're just going to look up here. Okay, it says external power is connected, but holy moly, it's also off. So external power is off. We must be on the APU. I'm going to go ahead and let's just disconnect the ground power. Hey, the airplane didn't go dark. We must be surviving, right? All right, how's that door closing? That's quite the loud door slam, isn't it? Okay, the ground crew has just come in, handed us our final load sheets and everything else. The pizza's arrived. Let's go ahead and close the forward door. There's our forward door closed, and that looks good too. We're going to look down here, and I'm going to look and see the parking brake is on. So let's come over here, and I'm going to remove the cones, and I'm going to remove the chocks. And now we're going to go to the takeoff page, because now we basically, as they said on the Titanic, we've cleared all moorings, right? All ready to go. All right. Maybe the Titanic wasn't the best example on this, but let's enjoy anyway. I use something called Pushback Helper. GSX is really cool. This one is really simple. And I'm going to call the tug. There is, and if you go outside, you can see our tugs coming. Sometimes it doesn't have a tug, but Pushback Helper will just put a tug there, an imaginary one, and push you back. That's just one of the things I like to use. It's free at flightsim.to. It's been updated a few times, and I like it. Now then, let's come on over here, and let's go and come up here, and let's hit the little triangle and check. The winds are supposed to be, it's 270 at 3, so it's basically nothing at nothing. The QNH, the altimeter, this says 2992. The real world says 3006. Did I do real weather in time? Oh, look at this. I'm a bad pilot. I didn't get the real weather cranked in there. All right, let's let it say, okay, that looks a little bit better. Hey, look at that, the tug's ready to go. Okay, now let's try it again. And I'm going to click it. 186 at 1, 3006, 91 degrees, or 33 degrees Celsius. Okay, we're going to go flaps 15, and we can go and set the EPR and the trim. And that should set that. Let's see. Over here, there's the airspeed indicator. See, there's nothing there. Let's set our speeds. Oh, look at that. We got some bugs over there. We're all ready to go with that. I think we're ready to go. So the next thing I'll do is just manually, I'm going to come up here, and I'm going to go and arm and guard my emergency exit lights. I'm going to come down here, and it did not do nav lights or beacon. I'm going to turn those on myself now. I'm going to turn on my transponder to on. That way, if we were on VATSIM, we'd be squawking mode Charlie on all taxiways. And we're all ready for pushback. So if you look out here, it's kind of hard to see in the daylight. The beacons are going. We pulled the chocks. It's time to go. So come on down here. Parking brake is off. And now we can push back. And there we go. And there's our push. While we're pushing back, I'll say one of the things I usually say at the beginning of this. What I'm doing here today and trying to do with what I'm doing on YouTube is show you how things are working for me in the simulated world. While I do have a private pilot's license, I'm not an airline captain or anything like that. I'm a simulator live streamer and a simulator pilot. So what you're seeing is not necessarily all about the right way versus the wrong way. What this is about is what works for me in the sim, and I hope it's what works for you. Now, the goal of us in the flight sim world, we want to be as close to the real world as possible. We really do want to do a good job. So I'm really, if you are a 727 driver or if you just know better, I do look forward to hearing what you'd have to say in the comments, because we definitely do want to get it right here. Okay, there we go. Let's hit stop. Now then, let's go and do parking brakes. To do parking brakes, do your toe brakes all the way in and parking brakes on. And then with that, we can come here and release the tug. And there goes the tug. I'm going to lock my gamer chair in so it doesn't tilt back while I'm doing rudder pedal things. And once the tug pulls out like that, you can turn off pushback helper and go. And now we're going to come over here and do the before start checklist. And this is going to go and finish up the last few switches before it's time to start up. And then again, what I'll do is kind of look over here, and it's going to be turning on a few things up here. So we just saw these lights go on. What are these lights? That is the window heat just got turned on. It's 91 degrees outside. I'm guessing it's good that we turned off the window heat. Left it off for now. It just turned off it turned on and tests the anti-skid system. So it's doing the anti-skid. I'm going to get, okay, it turned off my transponder. Navigation lights are on. It also turned on the logo light. I didn't turn on the logo light. So it did turn off the transponder. We do have no smoking and fasten seatbelt signs. It turned those on. And by the way, if you're not really into flying cargo and stuff like that, the developer of the airplane said, yeah, hey, we're going to make you a passenger plane at some point. I don't know when that's going to happen. Okay, so it's continuing to flip switches. I think they're doing some things back here in the flight engineers panel. Let's see, we could come over here and close the door of the cockpit. There we go, close that up. And oh my gosh, before start checks are done. So now we got to start it ourselves. There's two things you need to do to start the airplane. It's all set up and ready for you. The first is in the upper panel up here. All the way at the top, there's the engine starter switches. Let's unguard them. And I believe you start, it goes 3, 1, and 2. I'm not sure, I've forgotten. I think that's the way you start the MD-11, so we'll do it this way, that too. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click ground. Look down here at the engine panel, and you can see the N2 is going up. And there's going to be, here is pressure. I'll wait for the light to go out. It's out. There is 18, 20. Come down here, and you're going to do this fuel lever. And then we'll monitor the rest of our engine start up here. N1 is going up. Exhaust gas temperature is going up. Fuel flow has started. And if you come outside, our engine number 2 is starting. And there we go. So we got an engine going here. And we'll look up here and see. We'll wait till the engine gauges stabilize. You can see the little dial and the big dial are both going up, but now they're both slowing down. And I think it's about 38% N1. Engine stable. So let's go up here and we're going to do engine number 1. Engine number 1. And just like before, N2 is going up 10%, 12, at about 6 to 8, that light goes out, and I wait just a little longer, and fuel cutoff. And now the engine over there is going. And a chance to have another cup of coffee. Let's see here. I don't see any cup holders. This airplane was designed in the days before Starbucks. Okay, so we're getting a good start on engine number 1. Looking good. Hey, you know what we could also set? Our cleared altitude. ATC's been really nice to us. They've said we can just continue our climb all the way up to our cruise altitude, which is 27,000 feet. 27,000 feet. And let's go ahead and start engine number 2. Engine number 2, and I'm clicking it downward towards ground start. So we're going to ground start. And just like before, 10%, 12, 14, 16. The light goes out about 16. I wait till we get just under 20. And fuel. And wow, we got all sorts of big engines turning and burning. Looks like Volanta is not my friend. So the data you see at the top of the screen's a little weird. That's another flight we're planning. I don't know why I just did this flight. Maybe it's because I started all of this earlier. Yeah, that's why. Hang on, I fixed it. Okay, now that we got all this done, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to uncage my backup artificial horizon. Okay, that looks better. Okay, that's all uncaged and ready to go. Now we're going to get some more help from after start checklist. There comes the after start checklist. My guess is we're going to be shutting down the APU. And let's see, that we should see this. Yep, the amps are going down. This is going on, and my guess is also we're going to see that temperature drop a little bit too. We'll probably also see there's bleeds going on, there's fuel pumps set up, and all of that looks good too. And it's still going. There is a stick shaker check. So they just did a stick shaker check. I think it'll also put our flaps out for us, so we don't have to do that, but it's flaps 15 for our departure. Just check the flight directors. After start is good. Let's go ahead. And I'm going to go and just hit that set EPR again. And now let's do the taxi checklist. And I think all that's going to do is turn on the taxi lights. Okay, so turns these lights on. It also turned off. The probe heaters all got turned on. And we should expect these to get popped on too. Sometimes it does the lights, sometimes it doesn't. No, it didn't do the taxi lights. Uh-oh. Let's go ahead and do the nose light. Taxi light going on. Shall we get out of here? Let's do that. Parking brakes off. Parking brakes are off. And in the MD-11, I watched the real-world MD pilots. All three of their throttles would go up. So they do their all three throttles going up like that until the airplane's going. And then they would take the two engine 1 and engine 3 throttles to idle, and then just taxi on the center engine. Let's get on the center line. And now I'm going to idle the center engine because we're picking up some speed here. And out we go. We're taxiing. It does look like it's set our flaps for takeoff. Flaps are 15. And all of that looks pretty good too. Be a good pilot. I'm just flying by myself. Always look the opposite way before you hop on a taxiway. It's the nice thing to do. Even in multiplayer, I'll try and do that. I mean, multiplayer is basically a free-for-all type of a sandbox, but I will go and check and see. The scenery that you see here is the Latin VFR scenery for New Orleans. It's a nice scenery. The old terminal, I guess, has been shut down, and they're now operating out of the new terminal on the other side of the airport. Starting to slow down. Let's add a little bit of power to that center engine there. One of the other things I like to do is, even if I know the airport, I'll kind of take a look and use this as my taxi chart, a moving map for the airport, just especially on VATSIM, because VATSIM can be confusing sometimes. I hope that you're finding a little bit of this helpful in getting this airplane going. My next steps in this airplane is going to be to slowly but surely get off of the crew manager. So I'll be spending some time in the online manual for this airplane to try and learn more about how to turn on all of the switches and buttons myself. I did learn it once before in the FlyJ Sim 727, and it was a lot of fun. I mean, learning how these old airplanes work really is a good time. I definitely enjoy it. If you want, you can add a GNS system, so you can do some GPS flying. Another thing that we can learn about this is a SIVA system. That's the same system as in the Concorde. Think of the SIVA as the, great-grandparent of the McDo, okay, and the FMC. Although it is a bit on the infuriating side, I will tell you. Okay, starting to slow down just a little bit. I don't think I've got a ground speed indicator on this airplane. So no ground speed, so you got to judge your own speed. You want to be about 10 knots here. And we'll kind of come around here. Unlike the MD-11, you want to start your turn. You're not sitting that far ahead of the nose wheel. As you make your turn, you might want to add a little bit of thrust. You definitely have to on the MD-11 to keep going around the turn. So we'll get that one around the turn, and away we go. Nothing else really to worry about down here. Let's see what I did to the transponder. Transponder is off. That's going to be a problem if you're on VATSIM. You need to have the transponder on, otherwise you're not squawking mode Charlie on taxiways. And that's something that the controllers are going to say, hey, why aren't you squawking mode Charlie? Okay, V speeds again are going to be V1's 129, rotates at 129. V2 is 143. So what we'll try and do is take off runway heading. We'll climb out a little bit, and we'll try and make our turn. Hopefully we'll be picking up the VOR. So you can see the runway heading is set over there. I'm going to go ahead and spin this around. I don't anticipate we're going to be on the autopilot, so I'm going to spin it straight up here for our first heading to a VOR. That might not be the right thing to do. I'm just trying to save myself pointing and clicking during takeoff. Now's a good time to make sure any beverages in the cockpit are out of reach, especially between you and your flight stick and your throttles. Otherwise, spills could happen. Some things that we're going to want here, we're going to want the auto throttle eventually. We're going to want the autopilot, which is down here. So we've got those already, and we know where to find those. Everything else looks pretty good here. As we come up here, I'm going to go ahead and get the flight crew working before takeoff checklist. Before takeoff checklist. And it's going to go and set us up for that. And we're continuing just our taxi here, almost to runway 20. If you also, if you're brand new to the channel, welcome first. Thank you for coming and checking it out. Appreciate you being here. We fly an awful lot over on Twitch. Everything's kind of a group flight. We fly all sorts of airplanes. We fly all over the world. Pretty much every place we go is where other spy pilots that fly along with me are suggesting. And if there's a place you'd like to go, there's also a Discord server. Links, of course, below. You're definitely welcome. And we are coming up here. See, there's a little holding bay right over there in case traffic is busy. Okay, throttles to idle. I see the wind sock up here. Let's see, are the winds going to sock it to us? Still kind of variable there. Oh, and by the way, bad jokes are going to be another thing here too. Playing with words is fun. Okay, we're going to slow down just a little bit for our turn. ATC just, we got a fictional call. They said we can go on to runway 20 and line up and wait. So we'll come up here and strobes. Wing logo. Strobes are on. Oh, it turned the strobes on for us. We're not on the runway. So strobes are wrong. And here we go here. Not the longest of runways. So we're going to do one of those sharp 90-degree turns. Get the airplane halfway across the center line. And tight turn. And you might need some differential braking. Uh-oh. Okay, touched the wrong one. We needed the right one. Straighten out the wheel. That'll get us going. And that way we get all sorts of runway here. How do we do? Not so bad. Okay, looking good. Let's check our lights again, see what we got. Lights. Landing lights got also turned on. So you don't want to do this button until you're, I guess, lined up on the runway. Let's see. We are on altitude. That looks good. I don't think that we really have a TCAS on this airplane. It's too old. So I think we're ready to go. Okay. There's also, we can go to mode select heading mode. And are just going to zero out the flight director. Shall we get ready to go? Okay, I usually go all of my engines up about halfway. Look to see, are my engines stable? They are. And then I slowly push them up to a little over 90%. That should be good. And hope that the airspeed starts to come up. Airspeed's alive, 80 knots. And it does give you calls, so all you have to do now is look out the window, stay centered down the runway. Gear. Up, up, and away. Look at that. We're climbing. We're climbing. Okay, we're slightly off our course heading here. So this should, the flight director should be showing me my, well, it really isn't. So let's just go like this. I don't think I'm doing right with the flight directors. Flaps. And ATC called and said turn left to a heading of 090 degrees. Let's start our turn. My side stick that I use is the WinWing side stick, and it's set very nicely for the Phoenix A320. That being said, it's way sensitive here for this airplane. Okay, so 090, we're going to try and get the autopilot hooked in on that heading of 090. Our speed's coming up. There's 200 knots. And there's 090. Let's start rolling out and see if we can't engage the autopilot here. Hey, look at that. We're picking up the VOR. So there's 090. Let's wait on the autopilot. Flaps. Another flap can go up. And ATC called and said direct to our first VOR. I don't remember what our first VOR is, but we'll do that. And now I'm going to go and do the after takeoff crew manager button as we slowly make our turn. They just put the landing gear to off. I'm probably turning a little bit too steeply. Roll out. Hey, look at that. We're going to fly right over the airport. How about that? Now I'm going to go just a little bit over that VOR and roll out. There we go. And flaps. Now then, we're coming up on 250 knots. So we need to get our heading set up here. We're going to go and try and get on the autopilot here. Let's lower the nose a bit to get to 250. Flaps and slats should be up. Engines are a little bit high. I'm going to roll these back to about 95. So 95% basically. And that's just a number I'm pulling out of, excuse me, thin air. Hey, there we are, 250. Let's get our nose up a little bit. I want to get closer. Well, there's 250 knots. Let's go ahead and get the heading bug straight up. And let's do the autopilot. Here we go. AP is going on. Heading select, altitude select, and let's go to IAS hold. I'm releasing the stick. We're climbing at about 210 knots. So I pulled the nose up a little bit too high, but we're heading to the VOR. We are 80 miles away from that VOR. So now what we're going to do is let's get our speed up to 250 knots. I'm going to go to vertical speed, and I'm going to push the nose down. So we're going to have it descend. And our speed, as you can see, is going up. There's 240. And there's 250. That's 250. And now we're going to do IAS hold. It's going to hold our climb at 250 knots. Hey, look at this. We're coming up pretty close to the VOR, too. So this thing's coming up. And that looks good. Let's just have a look and see what it did for our lights here. Landing lights had turned off. Taxi light was still on. Strobes, navigation, beacon. Logo light is off. We're on and altitude reporting. We're not doing TA and traffic avoidance. So Terra's not on, but we won't worry about that right now. And so far, so good. This is coming on over. And look at that. We didn't even scratch the paint. How about that? All right. So far, so good. I think we can reach over and have a cup of coffee. Sip of coffee. And that looks really good. Almost there. So we're intercepting the VOR pretty good. We're at 15,000 feet. I'm going to go to vertical speed, push the nose down a little bit. So we need to speed up a bit. And I usually like to climb at about 270. So I'm going to keep pushing the nose down here a bit. And see if we can't get the speed to climb. And keep pushing. There's a little notch here. That's the center point. You see there's a little notch right there. So we're not going to start descending or anything. But I'm trying. Okay, there's 260. And look at this. We're on our course heading now. So now let's go ahead and start our turn. There comes our turn. And now we're going to come down to the autopilot. And I'm going to do nav loc. And now it's going to just basically fly to the navigation. Hey, there is 280. That's pretty good. Let's climb at 280. IAS hold. Now we're going to hold indicated airspeed. 17,500. Okay, 17,500. I believe that is reminding us to reset the altimeters. So 2992. 2992. And 2992. Again, you could also set the first officers, but there you go. And this is all looking good. Altitude select. It's important to be armed. That means it's going to stop at our altitude of 27,000 feet. Otherwise, you just keep climbing on up to the moon, or until something bad happens. Okay, we've got two indicators that we're not picking up our second VOR yet. So this one's pointed to our first VOR, the one with two lines, that's VOR 2, and it's over here off to the right. That means we're not picking it up yet. The other way we know that is DME 2 is not indicating anything. We are 64 miles out. There's 20,000 feet. Let's see, we could have some people deadheading back there, so we'll turn cabin signs off. Yep, you could actually have people back here riding along. So if you open it up and look back here, you can see there was one seat for somebody back here. There is the controls for the door. If you close the door and come around here, there is a lavatory, but there's nothing in there. Yep, you can open up the door again. And if you absolutely positively have to get back into the cabin, you can go and take that hatch off, and there you go. And there's all of our cargo. So we have a little cargo hatch. So we'll turn that off. Let's also, whoops. And we'll close the door again. We could also have somebody sitting here. So you could actually, along with the 3 crew, you could have 2 extra people aboard. Here's 22,000 feet. We're climbing at 2,000 feet per minute. Not bad. Not bad. And if you're getting kind of lost, one of the ways to kind of just check yourself is to go over here and use the moving map here on Navigraph. And as we pull it on back here, you can see we're heading to the MCB VOR. And so you could use this as your flight tracker. Coming in on the arrival, we're going to come in at SQS. And at SQS, we would then go out on the 328 degree radial for 31 miles plus 33 miles, and that takes us to Barf. After Barf, once you get on the 288 degree radial of Marvel, then you would make your turn to go into the airport. So you can actually do a non-RNAV arrival this way. I think after Sidon, let's just go direct to the airport. I have to get ready for the Spy Flight live stream, and I got a late start today. So everything looks good to go up here. Nothing really to worry about. So as you can see, we're pretty well set. Passing 25,000 feet. We're going to stop at 27,000 feet. So here's what we do at 27,000 feet. Once we get to our final cruising altitude, We're going to also verify a couple times that altitude select has not magically turned itself off. Yes, it will do that. So we want to make sure that that doesn't magically go off. Now let's see, we should probably get some sort of a notification that we are 1,000 feet or coming up. Up, there you go, 1,000 to go. Perfect. At 1,000 to go, we're going to settle into our cruise, and you'll notice that the airspeed's going to pop up. Now we've got the barber pole up here. That is basically velocity never exceed, VNE, and that looks like it's going to be just a little bit around 350 knots. Fortunately, we could go as high as Mach 0.8. So I'm going to go ahead and take this little bug now, and it's really hard to see. It's red, it's hard to see, and I'm going to dial it around, and let's dial it over to Mach 0.8. And that's going to be what we want to cruise at. Okay, so you can see, there it is. It's hard to see, Mach 0.8 right there. That's good. And up there's 27,000 feet. And as you'd expect, our airspeed's coming up. Uh-oh. So what we're going to do is wait till that little guy gets up to about Mach 0.8. Okay, there's Mach point, what, 7.2, 7.4, 6.8. So there's Mach 0.76. How about Mach 0.76? Let's do that one. There's Mach point. It looks like we're slowing down. So Mach 0.76. Now what we're going to do is engage the auto throttle. When that happens, it beeps, it idles your throttles, and then pushes it right back up. So don't worry about that. And that looks good. And now we've got the auto throttle, and it should hold us at about Mach 0.76. So we're good to go there. It's not going to be exact like a modern day Airbus, but it's going to be pretty good. Now then, we're at 23 miles out from the MCB VOR. According to the nav log, from MCB to SQS, that should be 359 degrees. So hardly any turn at all. There's 20 miles out. The other thing that we have to do is no flight management computer. So when do we know how to do our top of descent? Over here, if we go to the flight page, I have still not been able to put in a number for a descent. And it's got this, I don't know how to do that. So what I was going to do is I just usually bypass this and go to the landing page for now. And then what I'll do is take a look at my arrival. So my arrival is going to basically be 36 center degrees. 36 center. So what we'll do is we'll dial in the Memphis VOR, and then we'll go a little bit off to the right and catch the glide slope and localizer and just come in there. That's our easy way to do today's flight. So our platform altitude at Jenny is 2,000 feet, right? Oh, and minimums, normally in the Airbus, the glass cockpits, we're going to use our 541 as our barrow. Hey, we're not glass here, so use the little number down here, 200 feet. Those are your minimums on the radar altimeter. And the radar altimeter, radio altimeter is right here. So let's dial in 200 feet now before we forget. Okay, that's probably about as good as we're going to get. Now then, how are we doing here? Oh, 8 miles. So what I like to do is I like to go and dial my heading straight up. I'm going to come down here, and we're going to go to turn knob and heading select. Now we're on heading select. I'm going to change my course to 359 degrees. That's our turn. And then for the next few miles, we're 6 miles away from the VOR. I'll do the turn manually. Now, maybe you don't have to, but I'm going to. Or, did you see what just happened here? this little guy just popped up. That's VOR2. We're 149 miles away. I say flip the radio over, get the next one ready to go to Memphis, and then the heading, let's go ahead and get ready to go direct to this one. So I'm going to go ahead and cheat a bit here, and we'll just center the course right about there, and we're going to come back down to do nav and localizer and let it just fly us there. And we have got 144 miles to go. We are not picking up the Memphis VOR. So let's go and do some more radios. So we're over here on the SQS, which is 1147. Memphis is 117.5. So 117.5. Let's also, there's already 117.5. I got an idea. Let's go get the ILS. The ILS is 110.5. I'm going to put this in here. 110.5. These cockpits are meant for 3 people, okay? And if you're on VATSIM, you're doing the job of 3 people. So I like to set frequencies and stuff like that way, way, way in advance and prepare way, way, way in advance. So here we all are. We are on our way to the SQS VOR. We're waiting to try and pick up on the VOR to Memphis. And now let's get back to how do we do top of descent. So there is an old little bit of math that you can do. The thing to remember is our platform altitude of 2,000 feet. And let's get the calculator because it's too early in the morning for math. We are at 27,000 feet. 27,000 feet. We want to go down to 2,000 feet. So minus 2,000 feet times 3 divided by 1,000 equals 75. That means roughly 75 miles are needed for our descent. Here's a couple of catches. It doesn't know our speed that we're descending. It doesn't know what the winds are going to be doing. So I use that number, 75, is what I call a very squishy number. So I almost always am going to add about 20 to 25, maybe more miles to that. So when we get to be 100 miles away from Memphis, that's when we start our descent. Another thing. So right now, we're not picking up Memphis. How do we know when we're 100 miles away from Memphis? Well, let's come on over here to the nav log. Between SQS and Memphis is 94 miles. Ooh, that's kind of interesting. So that's about 100 miles. So before we get to the SQS VOR, it's 100 miles. That means as soon as we pass SQS, we know that it's time to descend. Okay? And again, that might not be the exact way that you do that in the real world. It's what it works for me. It's what's working for me right now. And there you go. Okay, next thing we can do to prepare is let's come back over here to a web browser and let's go back to Digital ATIS. Let's come on down here and look at the Memphis. Let's look at Memphis again. KMEM, there we go. Information Delta, we have Information Charlie in our notes. Information Charlie, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to put Information Charlie in here. Just so that we're ready to go. Information Charlie, the winds are 120 at 4 knots. It's 10 miles visibility, few clouds and scattered clouds. Dew point and temperature a long way away, and the altimeter is 3016. By the way, there's a few other things that I usually like to put in here when I have time. I'll come over to the flight plan that we got from SimBrief. I'll go to page 2, and I'll go and copy this over here. So I'll go and grab that. I usually like to put this in here and also my flight level. I like to put these in before I get on VATSIM and request a clearance, because it makes writing down your clearance an awful lot easier. And this is where I'll jot down my clearance as they're rattling it off here in the notepad. So, again, this you'll see in the description. If you like it, copy and paste it into your own notepad, and it'll work any way you want. Okay, that looks really good there. Let's come on over here, and what do we got? We are 102 miles away from SQS. We're cruising pretty nicely. That's all looking pretty good. We're cruising at about Mach 0.76. That's not so bad. The airplane's flying. We got about 100 miles to go. Rather than have you sit, there's not much else to do. If there were more waypoints, maybe we would do a fuel check. So we would be able to go into the flight plan here, and we could go and look at what our fuel's supposed to be at SQS. So at Sinden, we should be 34 minutes into the flight, and we should have 15,000 pounds of fuel. How do we do that on this Well, you divide 15,000 pounds by 3. Come over here, and when you go over the waypoint, check your fuel. If you're good, you're good. I've noticed that the fuel, the way the fuel works on this airplane is pretty good. So if you're going to be in a big VATSIM event, board more fuel. Board more fuel. And that's really about all that I would do. So we decided that 100 miles, that when we get to Sinden, that's 100 miles from Memphis. We're 90 miles away. What I usually like to do on YouTube videos like this is I'm going to pause my recording until we get to about 10 miles away from Sinden. If you're flying along with me, which I hope you are, because that way you're pushing buttons at the same time I am, and that's kind of helpful for you. So if you're flying along with me, then that is hopefully helpful. So you would hit pause on play until your airplane is 10 miles away from Sinden, right? So we're 80 miles away. We're going to take like a 60-mile break. How's that sound? Okay, so why don't we do that? I will see you 10 miles from Sinden. There we go, we're back, and about 8 miles, and if you look over here, you can see we're picking up our new VOR. So let's go ahead and do the same drill as before. We'll come down here, and let's center up the heading. Heading is centered up. We'll come down here, and we're gonna go to heading select. Let's come down here, and we're gonna flip the radio to the new one. I'll flip this over to the VOR. Let's go and see. We'll adjust the course heading, and we're going to go direct to Memphis. That looks really good. Let's come back down here. Nav and localizer. It turned a little bit. Okay, so that looks really good too. We're 108 miles away from, so it's time for us to start getting ready for our descent. And that's going to be 2,000 feet. So we're going to put that in the window here for 2,000 feet. There's 2,000 feet. Looking good to go there. While we're getting a break from this, let's come on in and take the ILS, which is 110.5, and get this one set up in our standby here, 110.5. That looks good. We are now 102 miles. When we pick up the ILS, the 2 lines will go, that's going to go, and we should see that there too. We already know that the altimeter is 3016, and I'm going to say hello. I forgot to turn that on while I was doing all those things. Welcome back. Thank you for flying along. As you can see, we're still high above the, high in the sky. We haven't gone augering into the ground. There's not pixels all over the runway, and I think we're in pretty good shape. Let's see, when we come back from these kinds of things, this is usually a good opportunity for me to say thank you so much for watching the video. I'm relatively new and small over here on YouTube. Not entirely certain what it is the best thing for me to do on YouTube. I'm new. I've also done a couple of occasional videos on food, which have been a really good time for me. I'm planning on learning a skill for a new kind of a food video coming up, so if you like those, check those out. I'm still new enough that I read all the comments and suggestions in the comments below, so I really appreciate that, as well as all the other shares, whatever those are too, to help me grow this sort of the channel, this part of my channel too. Really grateful that you are here. If you like what you see, there are some things you can do, and we need to start our descent. So let's go ahead, and we're going to come over here, and we're going to disconnect the auto throttle. Auto throttle's disconnected. We're going to roll our throttles back a little bit here, and let's roll them back to about half. And our speed's going to go down just a little bit, I hope. Yeah, there goes our speed. So I want to descend at about 270 knots. So our speed's coming down. Oh yeah, looking really good. Going. There's 280. I guess 270 is going to be more like that. Looking good. There's about 275. That's probably close enough. Let's do, let's see, we're at IAS hold here, altitude select. And that should start our descent. It's going to pop up a little bit, and then it starts us on our way down. And down we go. And then with your throttles, you're going to go and adjust your rate of descent. So we need to push our throttles forward because we're descending super duper fast. So I'm going to gently push them forward to get it to about 1,500 to 2,000 feet per minute. Okay, then it's going to go up. Oh my gosh. And I'm barely moving my throttles, as you can see. So the variable speed indicator is going to go down. And let's see what it does. And there's 1,200. There's 1,500. That's not so bad. There's 2,000. Just bump these up no, not too much. Don't bump them too much. Okay, that's good for the moment, right? How's this looking? Let's check the engines and see what they're looking like here. So that's at about 71%. I'm going to move this down to about 71% on that. So 71, and 70%. That's so far so good. So let's look straight on at it. So these two engines are at 71%. Let's get it closer to 70. Very small move. Okay, let's see what it did to our descent. Hey, there's between 15 and 2. So it's wavering about 1,500 to 2,000 feet per minute. That's not so bad. Over here, let's see. We've already gone online and seen what the weather's like. The altimeter is 3016. It's 27 degrees and the winds are 120 at 4. Let's see what we get. 297 at 9, 3012. The temperature is 3 degrees. Maybe that's close enough. We might want to update that again. Okay, and we're starting to, our descent is shallowing out a bit. So I'm going to go and just edge these down a little bit more to 70% on engine 1 and 2. And it's still kind of bouncing around. If we don't watch it, we're going to be a little bit high. And we don't want to be high on this one. We're 59 miles out. Yeah, we probably ought to get closer to 2,000 feet per minute now. Still reducing that. A little bit more. Now we're really idling these things out, but I think we're high. We could do math and figure out if we're high or not, but that's going to be about as good as it gets. We're still also watching for indication that we've got the ILS, and that'll be us about 20 miles out. There we go. That's a little better. 2,000 to 3,000 feet per minute. Also over here, let's see, it says we need 5,084 feet for our runway. We have 11,000 feet, so that's pretty good. I think that's great. Let's come back over here. And so that's great too. VAP is going to be 136. We could set EPR and set the speeds for landing. So that looks good. There's 19,000 feet per minute. I'm going to pull my throttles back even more because we're still not descending fast enough. That's good. Okay, let's go and look here and see what we got. Altitude select is armed. That means it's not going to go down any further. That means it'll stop at 2,000 feet. If you forget to do that, it'll just plop you right into the ground, and that's not good. We're 46 miles out. I have a feeling we're really high. Okay, that's the gear. Basically, it beeps at you if you go to idle on the engines on a descent. So that's about as good as that's going to get. If we care, we can tell our passengers who are deadheading to sit down and do seat belts. And altimeter is 3016. 3016. There we go. And we're going to be good pilots and set our backup altimeter. 3016. There we go. That looks really good. We are 30 miles out, and we're still really high. There we go. Start looking for an airport. Start looking for runways. We'll start to pick up the ILS in about 15 miles. We're probably getting close to a time where we need to slow down. So vertical speed, and now we're going to go up on the vertical speed, and we're going to go rather dramatic here. Oh no, I'm going the wrong way. I don't know what I'm doing. We want to climb it, not descend it. Wrong way. Wake up. I'll wake up. There we go. My goal was to slow us down. And I'm going to go and put a bug now here to 210. And because we're high, I'm going to throttle a little speed brake here. And you can see we got some nice little speed brakes on the wings. They're working pretty good too. And is our speed coming down? Boy, it sure is. When do we get to start putting out the flaps? There's a placard under the landing gear lever. And it's right over here. So flaps 2 is 245. Look at that. That's almost 245. How about let's try that flaps and see if it yells at us. Okay, there goes leading edge slats. Didn't like me there. Let's reduce our rate of descent here. There's 210. Speed brakes away. Oh, that's because I had too much speed brake out. Okay, let's do rate of descent, IS hold, and let's come over here, and we're 210. We can go flaps 5. Flaps are 5. That looks good. No sign of the ILS yet. Let's see what happens if we do a little speed brake. I think it's yelling at us because I have my speed brake out right now. I'm trying to increase my rate of descent with it. because we're only 20 miles out and we need to be closer to 2,000, not 11,000 feet. Let's come over here and do the approach checklist. Get the crew working on that and start looking ahead. Do I see an airport up ahead? Not yet. Let's see, what are you telling me? Altitude select, VOR lock, autopilot, see if it's why it's upset. It's upset because I have the engines close to idle and I have speed brakes out. It probably doesn't like that. And let's see, let's turn on landing lights at 10,000 feet. Oh, it already did. Very nice airplane. I'm going to load that taxi light too. 9,000 feet, 3,000, still looking good. Oh, look at this. We got an ILS. The ILS is set. Let's go ahead and flip the radio over there. The inbound course is 360. So let's set that heading at 360. Okay, that looks really good. Now we need to come over here and start doing our own thing. So let's go to heading select, and we're going to start a turn to the right and try and get on this. Try and get on the localizer here. 7,000 feet, that looks pretty good. I'm going to come down here and vertical speed now. Push my descent a little bit faster. And there's 3,000 feet. We're 19 miles out. That looks good. Doesn't look good. We're a little bit high at the moment. We could get a little bit of drag here. Let's get the landing gear down. Gear going down. Yeah, we're kind of pointed the airplane down. It probably is not pleased with me right now. There's 4,000 feet. Let's start pulling out of this dive of death now. Nose up. I'm going to put my speed brakes away now. And I'm going to bug 180 here. There's 3,000. We're 16 miles out. And we are a little bit below the glide slope. Let's continue to reduce our rate of descent. And now we've got a control up here. We can do approach mode on the main horizon. And we're waiting for 2,000 feet and to get over here. Let's go and arm something. We're going to arm nav and loc. This should go and get us, this should capture the localizer for us. Uh-oh, slowing down a bit. Whoa. We want 180. Throttles up. And there is stopping us at 2,000, we hope. There's 180. It's also gusty winds. Okay, are you starting a turn? It's starting a turn. I got the airport, I got the runway. Okay, gear down, 3 green. Let's hit the landing button now. And landing button. There goes landing. VAP again. What's our speed? 136. Not a problem. Let's go ahead and roll the throttles back. And now it's kind of hard to see. Where's our glide slope? We're below the glide slope right now. But let's go ahead and arm that too. So we're going to go Auto GS. Auto GS is now armed. And that's going to help us out. More flaps. So we are at flaps 30 right now. Okay, so we're done with flaps. I usually don't do full flap landings just cause. The landing checklist is good, so that's looking great. And if you look outside the airplane, we actually look like we're pretty normal here. It is definitely gusty. And all is right with the world. We're a little bit faster. Let's see if it's snagging the glide slope for us. I think it is. Yeah, it got the glide slope for us too. Let's reduce our own throttles. We don't want to speed up too much. I have the airport, I have the runway. Sit back, get ready to disconnect the autopilot. Autopilot disconnect. Hit the button again, that should stop the alert. And we're flying. Memphis is always a little bit entertaining because the taxiways and the runways sometimes look pretty close to each other. The other hard part about this is maintaining your descent. It's hard to see, especially if you're looking at the lower navigation. The compass. Use the artificial horizon. It's easier to see your glide slope and localizer. The flight director part of it really helps. And we're right on the glide slope. We're a little fast. I'm going to pull the throttle back a bit. Exiting to the right for FedEx land. A touch fast. A little high. Throttle back a touch more.
500.
And looking good so far.
100. 300.
So far, so good. Landing.
200. 500. 50. 40. 30. 20. 10.
Reversers. There's reversers. I did not set my auto brakes or my speed brakes, so you have to do those manually. Doesn't look like the reversers kicked in for me. No, they did. They did. It just didn't show. And exit the runway. And let's do after landing checklist as we're taxiing out. Usually this is also a time that VATSIM is going to keep us really, really busy. So, that's a thing. So getting off the runway, they're going to say ground. Ground control is going to want to know where you want to park. All of that stuff. And so all of this is looking good. The landing rate was a minus 275 according to Flow Pro. My landing rate, according to Volanta, was a minus 199. So that's not so bad. Now, flight simmers, we love to worry about landing rates and stuff like that. The real pilots, they care about, did you put the airplane on the runway where it was supposed to be? And that's how that works. Let's see, this airplane also, the flight engineer put our flaps up for us. Let's see, did they turn off the landing lights and stuff? No, we still have landing lights on. Boy, are those bright. That's good. How about strobes? Nope, didn't turn off the strobe lights. Got to get rid of those, and I need to get over on the center line here because we're about ready to go over a bridge. There's our roadway. Okay, and as you can see, this is a nice payware airport for Memphis, and that's really, this is a nice one too. But we made it. How about it? This is an incredibly fun airplane. I definitely enjoy the airplane too. I think that they're going to probably, this is the first download of the airplane. I haven't had a chance to see what the, they haven't done any updates on the plane yet. So we don't know about that. They are going to put out a passenger variant at some point. That will be pretty cool. And I'm a little bit off here. How about if we come over here and grab this? Again, thank you so much for watching. I really do hope that this helps you as you're trying to fly this amazing airplane too. Again, if there's something that you saw that I did that's blatantly wrong, I read all the comments. And I hope you'll join us over on the Spy Flight on Twitch. You will find us there live Tuesdays through Sundays. Our departure time is 1900 Zulu. That is 3 p.m. Eastern Time in the United States. We're flying all sorts of airplanes today. We've got the A320, and also they just updated the MD-11, so I'm going to guess that we're going to take the MD-11 into a flight too. And so here we are coming on up here into the line, and we'll come on in and stop the plane right on the spot, hopefully. It's kind of a shame that these old airplanes aren't flying as much as they used to anymore. Hardly at all. I mean, you know, the Tri-Jet was cool, but that big old T-tail and everything really did make this a pretty amazing airplane. And I think that's it right there. So come on down here. Tow brakes on. Parking brakes on. And let's see here. We can come over here. And what I'll usually do is come up and I will go to aircraft. And I'm going to go and put chocks and cones in. And I'll also usually come down and do engine 1 and engine 3. I'm also going to go and request a ground power cart, and then we'll come over to the flight engineer panel and we'll see where's the flight. Is it in? Yep, I'm going to turn it on. There's ground power, and then we can come and shut that down too. And that goes with that engine. We'll come over here and we can do the beacon to off. We leave nav lights. We'll do the taxi light off. It also has the logo light on. You can come over here, open the forward entry and cargo. And if you want, you can go and unload the airplane and take off and do another flight. It's really quite easy. So thank you so much for watching. I hope this worked. I hope you're having as much fun as I am with this old airplane. It's a lot of fun. There's a lot to learn about it. And I will look forward to seeing the friendly sim skies. In the meantime, as always, I hope you are doing well. As I like to say at the end of the Spy Flight live streams over on Twitch, please stay healthy, stay safe, and I will see you in the friendly sim skies soon. Cheers.